Hello guys, welcome to today's tutorial. So today we'll be looking at destructuring in JavaScript. So what is destructuring? Destructuring is a feature in JavaScript that allows you to extract values from an array or property or from an object and assign them to a new variable name using a concise and readable syntax. It simplifies the process of working with complex data structures, by unpacking their content into separate variables very easily. So we're going to take a look at that, and we are also going to dive deeper into advanced features of destructuring, how you can destructure an array, how you can assign new variable names, and how you can also use spread operators and rest operators. We're also going to look at assigning default values to array names. So let's get into it. So basically here I have a HTML5 document and I have a script here which is empty for now, which I've attached to this HTML5 document. So I'm just going to start it with live server. So if you don't have a live server on your environment, you can always install it from the extension. Just search for live server. It will bring it out. You can see here, the first one should be okay for you, which is one I have installed. So coming back to our document, I'm going to start this on a live server. Like I said, I've already started it, but it doesn't seem to be opening here. So I'm just going to open it. So basically we have an empty document. So if I put an H1 here and say hello world, we should see that being displayed. Okay, so that shows us that, I wrote hello. That shows us that it is ready. Now, we'll be looking at spread operators and destructuring. Basically, let us start with destructuring. To use it. So array destructuring. So basically, let's imagine that we have an array of numbers. Const numbers equals to an array of even numbers 2, 4, 6, and 8. So here we have 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the array. Now we can, if we want to extract this, there is a shorter way we can do it rather than saying console.log, rather than doing numbers and then looking for the position. It's position 0. So if we open that in our terminal, you can see it here. Now, rather than doing accessing the item like this, we can simply destructure each of the item and give them a name. So and give them a variable name. Traditionally, if we want to give this a name, we have to do const. Maybe we say const a is equals to numbers position 0. And then we can decide to log a here. But with destructuring, you don't have to go through all this process. You can just say const and you create your angle bracket as like you are defining an array again, and then equals to numbers, and then inside of equals to numbers, and then inside of this angle bracket, you can define your variables for each of the position. So for the first position, I can say A, give it a name of A, or I can say num1, num2, num3, and num4. So I can now console log those variables. These are now variables that will extract the value for each of these positions. So this will contain 2, while this will contain 4, this will contain 6, and this will contain 8. If I console log them here, console.log number 1, 2, 3, 4, you can see it here. So these are saved us multiple lines instead of now going over this and making it 4 different line of code and say A, say B, variable C, and variable D. And then having to go over this, changing the position of each of the items. I've just simplified the process by destructuring, by just destructuring each of the item and saving it directly into a variable like this. So this is what we call destructuring. Now I'm going to remove all this because we don't need that. This is what we need here. So we've destructured the array. Right here. So another example I would like to show us is you don't need to actually destructure everything from the array. For example, if you just need the first number, you can just do a const angle bracket and you say number 1, and you leave the position for the rest, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then you say equals to numbers. So if I console log just the number 1 now, because we don't have it second number, you can see it right here, line 9. We got the 2. So you guessed, sorry about that. So you guessed it right. If I want to get the second number, I can just delete this and then come here, say num2, and then going to copy this, and then what am I doing here? Let's just going to put it here, save it. You can see it there. So you can do that for each of the items. If you want to get the third one, then that will be, you will remove this, and then to be number 3. Let's leave it like that. Number 3. Save it. You can see. So we can also do with the last number there. So this is skipping elements, to the one that you want. Now the next thing I want to show you is how to use the rest operator with an array. So I'll say using the rest operator with an array of numbers. So how do we use the rest operator with an array of numbers? It's very simple. For example, I might want to remove the first number, and then I want to group the first, second, and third together. In that case, what I'll just do is I can say first number, and then do a comma here, first one, then I can say but keep, I can say others here equals to numbers. So take a minute and guess what will be logged out in the others when I log it to the screen. So let's take a look at that console log first number, and no, let's just take a look at others. We already know what the first number will be. Let's take a look at what others will be. You can see that even the autocomplete is trying to get the length there before, showing us that this becomes an array. So let's save that, and you can see exactly what it is logging here. An array of 3 items, which is these 3 items here. So you can use the rest operator with an array just like this, which is a very simple process. Now let's also take a look at object destructuring. So this is object destructuring, and let's create an object of a person object that contains the data of a employee. Let's give him a first name John, last name John Doe, and then let's give him a age. $34. Let's save this. Now we have a person object here. So we can also destructure, each of these items from these objects, just the same way we did with the array. So we can say const. This time we are going to use our curly braces because it's an object and not an array. So we're going to destructure the first name, the last name, and the age. You can do that by saying first name. But note, when you are destructuring a object, you have to use the name that was used, the key that was used as the name, like we are doing here. There are some cases where you can overwrite the name. You can use another name. I'll show you how in this video, just in case. For example, I might have a variable named first name already in my application somewhere here. So if I want to destructure this first name from this again, it will be causing an error. I'll show you how to fix that in a minute. So let's continue with this last name from person. Let's destructure also the age. Now if we console log this, you already guessed it. Console.log first name, last name, and we also need the age. You can see I'm having an error here. That is because probably I'm using the wrong value. You can see there's a typographical error here. This is file name instead of first name. So I'm just going to change this first. Let me check that to be sure I'm using the correct name. Okay, still remain and there. So saving that, you can see now we have the John Doe, and this is correct. Now, like I said, for example, let's imagine I have a first name variable here. I've declared a variable const. First name, I say, is equals to Joshua. And I want to destructure this first name also here. I can't destructure it again because it will be a conflict. This name will be conflicting. I already have a variable with the first name here. Now I'm trying to destructure this first name from this object. So now instead of destructuring this first name, what we can do is rename it. Not rename. I don't mean rename this object. I mean rename it at the point where we are destructuring it. So you can do that by putting a colon and then add the name that you want to add. So I can say here, employee name. So you can see I'm no longer having an error. So if I do this now, if I'm console logging this first name now, it will be giving me this. So if I want to get this value now, I have to console log this name that I've changed. I've renamed this first name here to employee name here. So I'm going to put it here and save it. And you can see I have the John from the object. But in the case where I change it back to first name here, you see that I'll be having Joshua because this is no longer from here, it's coming from here. So I need to rename it at this point because of the name conflict here. So this is how you can assign a new name to a destructured variable. Assign a new name. So you can assign it to any of the variables. Even to this last name, I can choose to assign it with employee last name. Then I can copy this and put it here, save it. I still get John Doe. So that is that about that. Now let's move on to the next topic. So the last one we're going to look at is how we can assign a default value to a destructured name. So assigning a default value to a destructured or variable. So that is that about that. Let's take a look at that now. Now imagine that I forgot to put a last property here, which is the, you have the first name, the last name, the age. You can say the height of the person should be 50 inches. Let's say 50 inches. But instead of having it here, I forgot to add it to this object. Now, I want to destructure height from the object. And I say const height I said is equals to person. I'm destructuring it from person. And you guess what the value of this is? Remember, height is not here. So if I console log this, and save it, we get an undefined. That is because height is not in the person object. But in the case where we are not sure if this is in the object, I want to give it a default value just in case it does not exist in the object. You can easily do that by assigning this a value inside of the structure curly braces. So I can assign it a value here that says 50 inches. Save that. Here I get 50 inches. You can see. So, but in the case where the height is also in the object, let's take a look at it here. Height. And I said here it is 60 inches. Now, if I save this, it's not going to console log this again. It's going to console log the 60 inches. You can see because this value exists here. Now, this is only going to apply this if it does not exist in the object. So that brings us to the end of today's tutorial. So that is all about the structuring. And I'm guessing that right now you are empowered with more knowledge and you can actually do more with the structuring, and you understand when you see this being used in a recent version of JavaScript, because the structuring is an ES6 feature, which is the 2015 ECMAScript, which was introduced in 2015. So that has been us to the end of today's lesson. So if you love this video, if you've learned something from this video, kindly like and subscribe to our channel.